That may be the greatest catch I've ever seen in my life.
Okay, my dudes, before we get into the exact players, I really want to go through and I want to have an in-depth conversation on what I think we need to be using training camp, what we need to be using the preseason for leading up to the fantasy football year, because I mean, you have some people on one end of the spectrum that overreact to everything. I mean, I get the DMs every single day on Patreon where people are going, oh my God, did you see the report about Ja'Marr Chase? Ja'Marr Chase isn't as impressive as they once thought he was. They get reports on the other end of the spectrum and go, oh my God, did you see that Elijah Moore is the best rookie wide receivers since Odell Beckham Jr.? And I'm sitting here going, guys, can we calm down? Can we not overreact in this fashion? I do not want to be paying attention to what beat reporters are saying with the talent of a player. Now, it's our job to go through and try to determine what the talent profile of a player is coming into the NFL. And it's our job to look at his past performances if this is a veteran and we don't necessarily have to be translating over college performance. So we're not going to be relying on beat reporters to tell us how Ja'Marr Chase looks. We should already have a great understanding of who Ja'Marr Chase is. Instead, we really need to pay attention to something completely different. And this is why you can't ignore training camp. This is why you can't ignore the preseason, because it has a significant impact on what we are going to see with the opportunity of certain players and what their roles are going to be in their respective offenses. So we need to make sure that we are going and looking for reports. We need to make sure that we are looking for news, but not based on, oh, beat reporter X, who's trying to get a bunch of retweets on Twitter, says that this wide receiver is the best receiver he's ever seen at Jets training camp. No, that doesn't matter whatsoever. I don't care what Johnny down the street thinks of a player and what he is seeing in practices. No, we care about what the coaches are doing in terms of who's getting the first team reps, who's the running back 2 on the depth chart. And we have so much to dive into in this video with players that are skyrocketing in value. And we are going to be looking at the players that have skyrocketed in value over the past month. And we're going to do a very easy thing. I'm going to go to 4 for 4 and we are going to track the players that have risen the most in their average draft position over the past month on Underdog Fantasy. Now, of course, Underdog Fantasy is going to be by far and away the best ADP that you can draw from, because every single draft there has a buy-in. Every single draft there is a real money league. And I don't know how many times I have to say this, guys, but Underdog Fantasy, the best partner we could have ever asked for. If you're not drafting on Underdog Fantasy, we're live streaming every single night. Come out. Join us in a live stream. Draft with us on Underdog Fantasy. And if y'all have yet to hear this by now, I don't know how, but if you make a $10 deposit on Underdog Fantasy, guys, you are going to get so much in return. A, you're going to get the satisfaction knowing that you have done more to support this channel than pretty much anybody else on the planet. B, you are going to get a $25 bonus added on to your $10 deposit when you use promo code FLOCK. C, you're going to be getting my 2021 rankings and my 2021 tiers. D, you are going to be getting my 2021 draft guide, hundreds of pages of information. You're going to be getting my Dynasty Rookie Draft Guide, over 100 pages of information about the rookie class coming in this year and looking at them historically based on their profiles. But yeah, guys, please make sure you go deposit $10 on Underdog Fantasy. Nothing helps this channel more. And let's dive into this video. And we are not going to be looking at any of the players on the Los Angeles Rams, the New Orleans Saints, or the Green Bay Packers, because obviously, guys, I mean, yeah, there have been drastic changes there. We've already discussed Michael Thomas. We've already discussed Cam Akers. We've already discussed Aaron Rodgers coming back and how those different situations play into the ADPs that you're going to have from those teams. Instead, let's focus in on some guys that we haven't spent too much time discussing. And let's go and let's first look at Rashaad Penny. So with Rashaad Penny, this is a running back that has risen 42 spots in his ADP. And if we go through, if we look at him now being drafted at pick 166 overall, I'm completely fine with it. Y'all know I've been a massive Rashaad Penny fan to a fault since he came into the NFL in 2018. Now, this is a running back that we have discussed this so many times before, but if you look at his collegiate profile and the player that he was coming into the NFL, literally over the past decade, Rashaad Penny is the only guy that gets drafted in the first round, hits all our minimum thresholds that we have for his BMI, for his speed, for his passing down capability, and does not succeed at the NFL level. Now, I'm not willing to give out hope on Rashaad Penny just yet. I mean, we go through and we look at the fact that he has averaged 5.1 yards per carry through his NFL career. And trust me, guys, I understand yards per carry is a very bad statistic to look at and try to gauge a running back based on, given the fact that so many different variables go into that situation to drive that one statistic. So you can't just look at yards per carry and go, okay, well, this running back's better than this one. No, of course, that's how a monkey operates. That's how a monkey thinks through it. But nonetheless, it will give us a small glimpse on maybe just understanding that Rashaad Penny hasn't been nearly as bad as most people want to believe in the NFL. And we go through and we look at the reports that are kind of driving up the Rashaad Penny ADP right now. So the main report that you're actually going to find in terms of beat reporters giving him some buzz is apparently he lost about 10 pounds and he says that he feels and looks faster than ever. Now, going back to what we were talking about at the beginning of the video, I will say that is a report that I don't necessarily care about. I don't necessarily care that some beat reporters, that Rashaad Penny, they're saying that he's the fastest he's ever been. With Rashaad Penny, what I care about is the fact that he's actually at practice, that he is making it back from that knee injury, because we remember, I mean, just about a month ago, I was worried because we were looking at it going, well, Rashaad Penny, is he really not going to practice due to this knee injury? If he's not going to practice, we have to hit the panic button. We have to kind of reevaluate our entire stance on Rashaad Penny, given the fact that this is a running back that, yes, I love. I think that he can be a 3-down bell cow guy if Chris Carson goes down. Don't talk to me about DJ Dallas. Don't talk to me about Travis Homer. Those running backs are literally nothing. They're day 3 flyers that are just brought in for some depth. Rashaad Penny is a running back with a ton of pedigree, got drafted into the first round, checks every single box. When he's had the opportunity on the field in the NFL, he has succeeded in every fashion. The one issue is his health. I don't necessarily think that his ADP should be driven up this high due to some positive reports, but I do agree that he should be a massive riser through training camp, just given the fact that, I mean, he's out on the field and he is practicing. So now let's go to another backup running back. And y'all are going to tell, guys, that in this video, I'm not going to go through and I'm not going to be talking about, oh, Davante Adams, massive riser. Y'all already know who Davante Adams is. Y'all already know where you should be drafting him. Instead, we're going to be diving a little deeper here. And our next guy is going to be Damien Williams. Okay, so with Damien Williams, I know we have a lot of Damien Williams truthers because every live stream that we have every single night, if you don't know that we're live streaming every single night, now you do. Make sure you hit that sub. Make sure you hit the bell next to it so you can come out. But regardless, I mean, Damien Williams is someone that everybody's always screaming at me to draft in the live chat. And I'm sitting there going, I understand it, guys. This is a running back that's put up some very impressive games in big-time playoff spots. And because of that, I mean, you know that a lot of casual fantasy players know his name. A lot of people have seen him perform well, especially in the Super Bowl 2 years ago. And with Williams, the reason that he is rising is not necessarily due to the report that he's impressed as a receiver in camp as of late. While yes, of course, that's going to be meaningful. The main thing is that you actually have Tariq Cohen looking like he's not making it back well from his own knee injury. And if Tariq Cohen's not making it back, we know that David Montgomery, while yes, he is more than capable to be a 3-down running back, this is someone that we have seen that when there's a capable pass catcher on the Chicago Bears, they're more than willing to just kind of transition David Montgomery into a 2-down role and actually have another running back out there kind of in a committee. So as it stands, it looks like Damien Williams may be one of those premium handcuff running backs in that he could have a role every given week, possibly as a pass catcher on his offense. And we have seen multiple times before Damien Williams go out there and get close to 20 touches in an NFL game. So I think at this point, he is getting bumped up to a range where, of course, you're not going to be going and grabbing him if you're drafting in a 6-man, 8-man, 10-man league even. But if you're in a 12-man format and you need some running back depth, I think Damien Williams could actually be very intriguing. So now our next player is going to be a little younger, a little more exciting. Let's go over to Terrace Marshall. Okay, so with Terrace Marshall, I mean, this is someone that we talked about all summer on our Dynasty Fantasy Football channel, and we love the prospect coming into the NFL. You look at him, he literally has prototypical size to be an alpha receiver, and you look at him and you go, okay, well, we clearly understand why he doesn't jump off the page with his production, because he comes into an LSU offense his true freshman season, and he's competing for targets with Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, on an offense that really isn't that productive at LSU. Then his sophomore year was that 2019 explosion from the LSU offense, possibly the best offense in college football history, where, yes, you have Justin Jefferson, you have Jamar Chase balling out every single week. But what you also have is you have Terrace Marshall producing at a level that is honestly surprising. And it's very impressive that a true sophomore player was able to go out there and command that amount of targets in a year where he got injured halfway through. And at the same time, he was competing for targets with Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I mean, can you talk about a tougher situation for a receiver to be in? And then his true junior season at LSU. Well, yes, the entire offense fell apart, but can you blame it? I mean, they lost Joe Burrow, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase opted out. Still, Terrace Marshall showed up, and he actually had a very impressive season, his true junior season, where we saw him be that alpha receiver. And now, the reports that we are getting out of Carolina are very promising. Because what I was concerned with Terrace Marshall this upcoming season is I was concerned that they drafted him to replace Robbie Anderson next year. Because you look at Robbie Anderson, and this is a receiver that only has 1 year left on that contract. And we know they just lost Curtis Samuel. So I was looking at it going, well, they signed David Moore. They draft a player like Terrace Marshall. It looks like they're more so just preparing to lose out on Robbie Anderson next year. But there are reports coming out of camp that obviously Terrace Marshall looks incredibly impressive, and that's what you should expect with a receiver of this caliber. But at the same time, there are reports coming out saying that he could actually play in the slot and take over for Curtis Samuel, which was not the role that we initially thought that he was going to be playing in. So Terrace Marshall, you definitely have to go through, and you definitely have to raise him up your rankings just from a usage perspective, because if he's playing that big slot role, it's going to be very exciting. Okay, so now our next receiver we are going to talk about is going to be Bryan Edwards, who has risen 15 spots in fantasy drafts over the past 12 months. He's now going at pick 139. And you have a ton of reports coming out of Bryan Edwards. I mean, you have everybody on Twitter just talking about, oh, look at this Bryan Edwards route. Look, Bryan Edwards, Bryan Edwards, Bryan Edwards, Bryan Edwards. And this story has played itself out before. And I will say that I am hesitant to go out and completely say to avoid Bryan Edwards, but I do want to put some disclaimers out in this video. And then I know a lot of people are just saying, well, Mason, Bryan Edwards, his rookie season last year, he got injured at the beginning. It's an entire whitewash season. You can't look at that year. And I'm going, yeah, he got injured at the beginning, but at the same time, he missed 4 games. Bryan Edwards missed 4 games last year. You're going to tell me that we can overlook the entire year and treat it like a redshirt season because he missed 4 games? Well, yeah, I mean, that should make him start a little slow. If Bryan Edwards was some superb talent, I think he works his way onto the field regardless when he comes back from that injury. Now, I will say there are some specific positive reports about Bryan Edwards, and that it looks like he is going to be playing over John Brown, and he's getting consistent run with the first offense. And if he's getting consistent run with the first offense, yeah, you have to go through and you have to pay him some respect. You have to make sure that you rise him up in your draft boards. But I don't know if he's going to rise to a point where I can no longer draft him, because as of now, he's risen up 15 picks, and it looks like his ADP is honestly continuing to rise. So unless it tops out anytime soon, and if it continues to go up, I'm probably going to be out on the Bryan Edwards hype train. I think we'd rather just get Henry Ruggs a round or 2 earlier. I think we'd rather just get Darren Waller, who's going to soak up every single target at the 2-3 turn. So yeah, Bryan Edwards, I know that he definitely has positive buzz about him right now. I'm going to be interested to see how far he rises, because it may be a little bit too much for myself. Now let's go to a receiver that, trust me guys, I love him. I loved Elijah Moore coming into the NFL draft. There were very few people in Dynasty Fantasy Football that were higher on Elijah Moore than I was back in May. Now, I will say it's getting ridiculous. The Elijah Moore hype train is at full speed right now. And I would be all aboard. I'd be willing to jump on that Elijah Moore hype train and just ride it to the end of the season. But the problem is, I think the target competition in New York right now. Now, I will say, Denzel Mims, guys, we have reports that Denzel Mims is playing with the 3rd team. I've seen Denzel Mims go in some of our drafts as of late, and I'll say do not be drafting Denzel Mims. Denzel Mims is a wasted pick at this point. But in New York, you're still looking around and you're going, okay, well, this is a team that gives Corey Davis a significant amount of money. This is a team that, more importantly, restructures the contract for Jamison Crowder, bringing Crowder back. So if you're going to be betting heavily on an Elijah Moore, I think you're more so making a bet on a Zach Wilson, that he's able to go through and support multiple different options in this offense. And possibly I'm overthinking it, but with Elijah Moore rising another round in ADP, where now Elijah Moore is going to cost you a top 100 pick in fantasy drafts. This is starting to get to the tipping point where I go, I love the talent. I really, really want to go out there and chase him. But are the beat reporters just hyping him up too much to a point where I don't necessarily think we can pay the price in fantasy? So let me know if y'all think I'm overthinking this, because Elijah Moore was a receiver that I thought we were going to be considerably higher on the consensus, and we started out the year that way. But as his prices continue to go up and up and up and up, I mean, I think at some point maybe we have to just go, well, y'all were down here, I was up here, but if y'all are going to be way up here on Elijah Moore now, maybe we're actually looking to not draft him in drafts. It's going to be so hard for me to say that, though, just because I do love Elijah Moore. And now let's get to our next guy, Mecole Hardman. The exact same situation. I loved Mecole Hardman earlier this offseason when you were getting him at a discount. But he himself rises about around an ADP right now, where he's going to be pick 86th overall. And if you've been coming out to those live streams, you've actually seen that on Underdog specifically. I've been willing to go out there and draft Mecole Hardman aggressively because I think on Underdog in particular, it's going to be a really appealing pick because this is a receiver that you don't necessarily have to know when you're going to start him. He's going to automatically slide into your starting lineup, and that's going to be very appealing when he has those spike weeks. And right now, he's going at pick 86. So he's going to cost you a pick in either the end of the 7th round, the beginning of the 8th round. Regardless, I think there's going to be one scenario that we've been consistently drafting Mecole Hardman in, and I will continue to draft him in that range. And that's if you decide to draft either a Tyreek Hill or a Travis Kelce in the first, and then you have Mahomes falling to you at the 3-4 turn. So you start the draft off with Tyreek Hill, Patrick Mahomes, and then if you can complete the double stack once you get to the 8th round with the Mecole Hardman, that's a strategy that I've actually been deploying, and I've really liked how it turns out. But I think just going and drafting Mecole Hardman aimlessly in the 8th round, the 7th round sometimes, that's going to be a little bit harder to pay off just because we know that Travis Kelce is going to be soaking up a lot. He's never going to come close to Tyreek Hill in production. And while, yes, he does have that spike week potential, I think if you're playing in a league where you submit your starting lineup each and every week, it may be a little bit harder to go out there and know when to start Mecole Hardman. So with him being listed as the wide receiver 2 on the Kansas City Chiefs depth chart, with him looking like he's the clear wide receiver 2 in Kansas City, I mean, he's risen another round in ADP, but guys, this is always what we expected. You always knew Mecole Hardman was going to be the wide receiver 2 in Kansas City. So now this is just confirmation bias at this point. You should have ranked him previously, knowing he was the wide receiver 2. And then when we get official word that he is the wide receiver 2 behind Tyreek Hill, why are you rising him up again? We already ranked him as the wide receiver 2. So let me know what you are thinking here. This is going to be a hard situation, just like in Elijah Moore, because I was higher than consensus on both of these receivers. But now that their price just continues to climb, we may have to jump off the boat sometime soon. Now, a player that I kind of have to sit here and I have to take my L on, especially for everybody playing in those dynasty formats. Now, yes, this is a video for 2021, not particularly dynasty, but it's another rookie in Mecole Carter. So Mecole Carter, we have a couple different reports coming out about him. The first report is he's a step above every other running back in New York, which isn't that surprising. I mean, Carter, I think, was a very underwhelming prospect coming out of UNC, but at the same time, he did have that great pass catching capability, and we did see him have a very efficient college career. So there were some positive signs, and there were no other running backs in the backfield that you wanted to get excited about. So it's a low bar to be the best running back in that situation. But with a Mecole Carter, the main thing that I actually want to be looking at is the fact that he is going and starting camp. He started camp about a month ago as the number 1 running back in New York, the number 1 running back on the New York Jets. This is something that you never see. You never see a team go out there and have their day 3 rookie running back start out as the number 1 running back on the depth chart working with the first team. So what that tells us is that Mecole Carter must have been extremely impressive in OTAs. And if he was that impressive in OTAs to carve himself out that role, I have to sit here and have to go, yeah, he's risen up almost a round in fantasy drafts. Now he is pick 86. But at the same time, I may be comfortable paying this price, given the fact that our worries were that he was not necessarily going to be the clear-cut starter in New York. I thought it was going to be a lot more muddy than most people wanted to project. But now that we are getting confirmation and we are kind of just being told that we were wrong, and it looks like Mecole Carter is the bona fide running back 1 there, I think that we kind of need to act quickly. And if you're going to be able to draft Mecole Carter around pick 86, I think that's a pick that I actually want to be making. And like I said, guys, I'm taking my L. If you would have asked me a month ago if you should have drafted Mecole Carter in the 9th round, I would have told you hell no. And now Mecole Carter is going in the 8th round. And I'm saying, yeah, probably a pretty good idea to draft Mecole Carter. So now our last player we're going to talk about is going to be Antonio Brown. Now with Antonio Brown, nothing's really happened. And I think for this reason, we have to kind of be a little hesitant to go out there and draft him with the price increase because he has risen 9 picks in ADP, is up to pick 75. And really the only reports that we have gotten from Antonio Brown is that Bruce Arians coming out saying Antonio Brown looks like he's playing at the same speed that he was at 4 to 5 years ago. And with that, Yes, if that was true, of course, you would have to be all about Antonio Brown at pick 75. At the same time, I'm a little hesitant given the fact that those fluff pieces, I don't usually have that much weight behind them, and I'd rather just go out and see the player on the field. So let me know what y'all are thinking about this Antonio Brown situation. I kind of liked him a month ago. I would say that we are more so neutral on him than anything. But I think if his price continues to rise, I may actually have to list him out as a sell if he's going at pick 75, because we know that we can consistently get Chris Godwin in the 4th round. And I think we would much prefer having Chris Godwin in the 4th compared to Antonio Brown in the 7th. But let me know what y'all are thinking. And yeah, that's all I got for you, my dudes. If you have yet to drop a like on the video, fix your life. Go down there, drop that like. If you have yet to subscribe to the channel, subscribe. And even if you are, hit the bell next to the subscribe button. That way you know when we're going through and we're live streaming every single night. You can come out, you can hop in those fantasy drafts with us. And yeah, that's all I got for you, my dudes. Really hope y'all enjoyed the video, and I hope I see y'all in the live stream tonight. We have had the craziest amount of support over on Patreon. Thank you, Colby, Ryan, Spencer, Seb, It's Easy, David, Justin, Christian, Tyler, and Robert. Thank you.